Here's a curious question. You like watching YouTube videos about cars, so you probably think you know quite a bit. So what do you think are the world's oldest car manufacturing brands? You obviously think of the likes of Daimler Mercedes. They started it all. You probably think of the likes of Ford, maybe Nissan, VW. They must be around the oldest. Well, what you probably may not anticipate is that Skoda is the fifth oldest car producing company. Now, you're probably wondering how this is possible because you can't really picture a Skoda when you think Skoda. They've really always been in the background of the motoring public's minds. I can't think of any person ever telling me they've ever dreamt of someday owning a Skoda. They are among the honeydew of the fruit bowl. Never in anyone's favorite memory. No one ever has anything to say about a Skoda. But they have been there. No, really. They are obviously under the benevolent behemoth that is Volkswagen. But get this, Skoda is one of VW's most profitable brands. So let's take a journey and see exactly how they were established and came to be under the wing of the great father company that is VW. You know, there are many great European car manufacturing countries, the likes of Germany, France, Italy, and in the case of Skoda, Czechoslovakia. Clearly, there's some brilliant engineering prowess in this country because the brand we know as Skoda was formed in 1925. Before then, the company was known as Laurin Clement, and this company was formed in the 1890s in making bicycles. You see, the father of the company apparently felt the Germans were a bit too full of it because he bought a bicycle that broke down from them. And after they were a bit snarky about some repairs he wanted done, Václav Klement decided to hell with them. He was going to repair and then build his own motorcycles. Fast forward to the beginning of the 1900s, after a foray into motorcycles, Laurin and Clement were manufacturing cars, and successfully as well. But then that well-known disruptor of the car industry reared its ugly head. War. Namely, World War I. Post-World War I, an arms manufacturer, the original Skoda, was looking to diversify and decided to purchase Laurin and Clement in 1925. Skoda, as we know it, was born. And the first car brought out fully under the mark was the Skoda 422, and it was joined by the 230, the 645, and the 860. And well, they just looked like regular cars from the 1930s. Skoda made a number of cars in the 30s. One of the longest running production models was the hopefully named Skoda Superb. It was a flagship car for the manufacturer. In 2001, they even revived the Superb name. The original Superb brought with it some important firsts for the company. It was their first V8 and their first model with all-wheel drive. How about that? The Superb led the charge for Skoda, allowing it to increase their market share by nearly 40%. It had 5 generations and even played a part in the Second World War. Military versions of the Superb were created and even luxury versions of those for high-ranking Nazi officials such as Field Marshal Erwin Rommel. After the Second World War, Skoda just kept chugging on and they had a decent enough reputation despite being behind the Iron Curtain. Fast forward to the 60s and they had really gotten into the groove. In 1959, they gave the world the Skoda Felicia, a cute little two-door roadster that even made it to American shores. Suffice it to say, the Americans said hi Felicia before bye Felicia was even a thing. There was also Felicia's almost twin sister, the Skoda Octavia, yet another name that was later resurrected. This seemed to have been Skoda's take on the tiny Italian roadster, and they did a rather good job of it. As good looking as they were though, they were unfortunately not known for their reliability, which led to poor sales overseas. Post the 60s period, there wasn't much in the way of innovation. In the 80s, they were still making cars generally based on the older models. The Skoda Estelle and the Rapid were good sellers, What more, Skoda had decided to get themselves a bit of racing pedigree, so naturally, they decided to send their planned economy vehicles rallying. Now you would probably imagine that the cars made under the all-seeing benevolent eyes of the Soviet Union would fare terribly at a grueling test of endurance and speed. However, amazingly, that was not the case. Even against better competition, Skoda was winning its class at the RAC rallies in the UK. They won 17 years running in the 70s and 80s. Winning made the likes of the rapid good sellers in foreign markets such as the United Kingdom. The English were eating it up. They did, however, get a bit more serious in the 80s. You see, hatches were just beginning to capture the imagination of the everyman. Skoda decided to follow suit, making a front transverse mounted engine hatchback, much like the great Mini from Cooper. In 1987 they released the Skoda Favorite, and it was such a switch up that it was their first car to use front wheel drive. They were so serious, in fact, that instead of using some tracing paper to copy something like a Golf or the Mini, they did what any reasonable car manufacturer would: hire some Italians to do the job. And so Bertoni designed this new Skoda. But all this really paid off for Skoda because the Favorite became a favorite in Central Europe. It even made its way to South America. Although somehow, even though they had this success, it's not like we really remembered it or acknowledged it. Perhaps it was a bite against cars from behind the Soviet war, because Skoda proved that they could make good cars, but no one noticed, and if they did, they still looked down on it. But being the prudent people that they are, the Germans noticed that there was something worth something worth investing in. The fall of the Berlin Wall brought with it many things, most important of course being the Hof's performance of looking for freedom. Other things included the eventual fall of communism and the privatization of industries in countries like Czechoslovakia. In 1990, VW swooped in and brought a huge stake in Skoda, and by the turn of the millennium, they were the outright owners. Nothing was the same again. Quality increased, and so did the reputation of the company. Models like the Fabia and the Octavia led a determined resurgence into the market for Skoda. In the early 90s, they were only building just over 100,000 units, but now, they sell over 1 million units a year. It was really all the way up from there. And if you want to see a second part of this video, please subscribe and like.